Hi, my name's Lauren, and I want to thank you for tuning in tonight. This is my spiritual awakening, and it's the premiere episode of what I hope will become many more episodes. Um, the purpose of this show basically is to reach out to others to share my story and what I've gone through. The past few years have been so, what's the right word for it? Have been so amazing and trying at the same time. I've been through a lot of hardships, but through it has manifested a wonderful awakening. Tonight, I want to basically share my story with you guys. That way you can get to know me on a personal level, so you know when I'm offering advice on certain subjects, you know where it comes from, and it comes from the heart. I tried to write a script, and for some reason I just wasn't able to. So I'm guessing that tonight is all about free flow and getting to know me. Growing up, I grew up in Vegas, and I guess you could say I lived a normal lifestyle. I was raised by my mother. My father wasn't around as they were divorced when I was a child. When I was 10 years old, my brother passed away. And from what I've learned, when we were children, basically, we're pre-programmed with all these emotions and issues because of what we go through. When my brother passed away, I started having a lot of anger issues, a lot of resentment, feeling lost because, my parents weren't together anymore, and just overall sadness. I was missing something. I was longing for something, and I had no idea what it was. I didn't go to church, wasn't part of any spiritual group, nothing. So going into high school, I guess you could say I pretty much was one of the popular kids. I got into a lot of trouble. I gave my mom a really hard time, and she was amazing. She still tried to guide me through all of it, but yet I pushed her away. By 18, I was pregnant and married, and by 21, I was divorced with 2 children. I never had a chance to actually become an adult and grow up and go through things like we're supposed to, go to college. I just rushed into everything. And I found myself entangled in drugs. From the time I was 17 years old, I battled an addiction. I was addicted to crystal meth off and on for years. It's been a big secret. I got clean after my son was born. But since then, when I got divorced, I started, I guess, falling back into old patterns is the right way to put it, because I was still missing something. I couldn't put a finger on it, but for some reason, I just wasn't happy internally. I have a 2-year-old daughter now, an 8-year-old son, and a 7-year-old daughter. My 2-year-old, I was with her father, and our relationship was very, very rocky. I was extremely angry at him all the time, blaming him for everything. I was even physically abusive at that point in time because I had so much anger inside me, I didn't know how to express it, and I didn't know what was wrong. When I was 7 months pregnant, he left me. And at that point in time, I didn't know how to deal with the pain. So I did the only thing I knew how to do, and that was to mask it. I turned back to drugs. It's what got me up in the morning. It's what helped me get through my day. And it's the only thing that got rid of that suffering that I was going through. But it was momentarily. Last year, it was about April or May, I met someone at a garage sale who changed my life. He came in this embodiment of a beautiful soul, someone who I consider to be a great trainer. And he invited me to a meditation. Mind you, never going to church or anything like that, I had no idea what to expect. So I went to this meditation, and a girl who's a dear friend of mine now, she placed her hands on top of my head, and I felt this heat run through my body. It was at that moment that I knew for some reason things would never be the same. The process that they do is called Diksha, and it comes from India. It's a part of oneness, and oneness, their whole purpose is to awaken humanity. And awakening, if you want to know what that means, is basically a neurological shift in the brain. It's what happens when the soul chooses to detach from the ego, from the thoughts, from the constant mind chatter that we always have. I remember last year I was still so filled with anger, and not sure what was going on. I was processing a lot of emotions, and I didn't know what to do with it. But this gentleman who came into my life slowly tried to guide me, show me the right path, and eventually I became a Diksha giver, and I started getting involved with the community and helping other people out. But I was still having a lot of issues with myself because secretly I was still addicted to drugs, and I had no idea what to do. It was about last year in December, after many months of crying and praying to my divine, please help me, make these thoughts go away, save me from this constant chatter in my head. It's driving me insane. I don't know what to do. That finally I heard, maybe you call it intuition or a voice, whatever the case may be, something inside me told me 2 people that I was to call right away, and I was to ask for help. It just so happened when I called these 2 people, they just happened to be together at that moment. And within 15 minutes, they were at my house. And I sat on my living room floor that night, and I told them that I was addicted to drugs and I needed help. I confided in them, and I trusted them. At one point in time, I even pushed away and told them I didn't want help because they tried to, reach out to others to help me. And I wanted it to be a big secret. I wanted to get help and get clean, and I didn't want anyone to know about it. Not my family, not the fathers of my children, nobody. I was very ashamed. But the same voice I heard in my head tell me that, no, Lauren, you need to stop, relax, and trust them. They know what they're doing. So I did. It was at that time that I decided it was time for me to come clean to the person who I had trusted, who had introduced me to oneness, and to ask for his help as well. And so I did. I told him that I was addicted to drugs, and he agreed that he would stay by me and he would help me as long as I promised to stay clean and never go back. And I said I promised. We planned it over Christmas. I know most people would think that's crazy. Christmas is a holiday you're supposed to enjoy, and I was planning to detox over this lovely day. But I had a week off of work. So we planned it out, and I went away with him to California to spend time with him and his family while I was detoxing. When we got back, it was the day after Christmas, on the 27th. 2 days after Christmas. He went away basically saying that he just needed some space. He was still there, but that he'd be back. And for some reason, that wasn't good enough for me. I got scared again, scared of losing someone again in my life. I'm so used to people walking in and out and feeling alone that I freaked out. And so I relapsed. When I did that, I was so ashamed that I knew I needed to tell him. I had promised him that it wasn't going to happen, and it did. And when he found out, he sent me an email. And he told me that he pictured me happy, healthy, clean, a loving mother, and that all my children would be safe, but that he couldn't be a part of it anymore. Even though my friends had gotten me a sponsor, and even though I had a great support group of maybe 3 or 4 people, it wasn't good enough. Losing him was so scary to me that I couldn't handle it. And so that day I made a phone call to a friend of mine, and I asked her to come to the house and take care of my children for me. She rushed to my house, and when she arrived, I took several pills and planned to end my life. Sitting there with her, she noticed that I was starting to get really drowsy, and so she called 911. I remember being taken down to the ambulance and slowly starting to drift off. I could feel my heart rate going down. I got a moment of peace, and then I woke up, taking deep breaths, gasping for air. I guess the gentleman in the ambulance had given me a shot to reverse what the drugs were doing to me and to save my life. I later found out that I took a very lethal dosage, and that air I was gasping for was basically me getting a second chance again. I was taken to a hospital and later released to a clinic where they held me on a 72-hour hold. And while I was there, I prayed and thought, what am I going to do? At this point in time, my whole story's out there. Everyone knows the truth. I'm an addict. I've lost everything. I'll lose my children. It's all over. And I heard the same voice again tell me, no, there's a purpose for this. You need to help others. You need to share your story. So I made the best of the 72 hours that I had in there, and the girls that I met in there were incredible. I showed them how to do vision boards, how to do a walking meditation, and just everything that I had learned over the past year. I was released on Christmas Eve, and I spent that Christmas Eve with my dear friend celebrating our first sober New Year's together. I'd lost my children, CPS was involved, and I had no idea what was about to come. I thought maybe I'll get out and things will be okay, but no, it wasn't going to go down that way. My awakening happened on January 1st. Before then, it was constantly loud screaming in my head of anger, sadness, resentment, fear, confusion. But I remember sitting on the couch talking to my stepfather, and I looked over at the fan and I could see the blades spinning around, and I could hear the sound of them ticking as they turned around and around and around, and there was no thoughts in my head. It was complete stillness, clarity. The one thing that I'd prayed about, that I had begged for, had finally happened. After having this shift, I thought, you know what, everything's going to be great. People are going to see that I've changed. I'll get my kids back. Life's just going to be amazing. But that's not the case. In oneness, they teach us that there's basically, a 6-month grace period where you're still having old programs come up. You're learning to adjust to this, but you're seeing it through new eyes. You're not attached to all the emotion as you were before. I've had to go to court and fight for my children. I've had to hear them call me all kinds of nasty names and blame me for things, telling my children things, and still hold strong through it and still continue to send love. How do you send love to someone who wants to rip your children away from you? I'm so grateful that my ex-husband and I were dear friends. We always have been, even since we got divorced. That he came around and we reached an agreement and I got my children back. My youngest one's father, I'm not so lucky. He holds on to so much anger and resentment towards me that he refuses to work things out, and it's a constant battle in court. The thing that we don't realize is it hurts the children more than anything. But I realize that it is my own fault of everything I put everyone through, and it doesn't matter how much I've changed, they still have to see that, and they still have to forgive on their own. You can't change anyone. So the purpose of this show every week is basically to share my life experiences, to give you advice from what I've been through, and maybe give a new perspective. I know many of us out there were labeled addicts. No one cares. They put you in AA meetings, NA meetings, give you a 12-step program, and that's what we figure will help. But that's not the case. We're missing something else. We're missing that connection to the divine, God, whoever you pray to, Jesus, Buddha, Krishna. It doesn't matter. It's your own personal divine inside you. Without that, we're lost. It doesn't matter what happened in my childhood. Because I was missing that connection with my divine, everything else just amplified it. I can say now that my mother and I have a beautiful, wonderful relationship. I'm so grateful for her. She's an amazing, amazing woman. My father and I, sadly, we still don't speak. but that's also because of my addiction and my past. But I've had to forgive myself over that. I can't change him. We can't change anyone. One day, when he's ready, maybe he'll come around. I don't know. But I can only live in this present moment and be happy with myself and true to who I am. That's all any of us can do. I was reading this story by Eckhart Tolle called A New Earth. And in it, he talks about through great suffering comes an awakening, and how he stood there ready to kill himself, and suddenly his shift in consciousness occurred. And that's what brought him to who he is today. I am grateful that that's what happened to me as well. Because had that not occurred, my 3 children may be without a mother. And that's hard to think about. It's very scary to think about. I'm grateful for this second chance on life and to help other people by sharing my story and being brutally honest. Once you release the skeletons from your closet, there's nothing anyone can pull on you. You just have to be you and be true. We're all beautiful. It doesn't matter. Last week, we lost a very famous actor, an amazing actor. And I actually sat in my room and cried over it. Robin Williams' passing is devastating and heartbreaking. But I understand the feeling that we go through, that feeling of being so detached and so alone and lost. We can be surrounded by everybody. We can be filled or in a room filled with people that love us. But if we don't love ourselves, we won't see that. And sadly, it ends up with us just letting go, not wanting to be around anymore. Of course, I'll have some guest speakers on here and kind of go over things with them of what they've been through, their experiences and everything. But honestly, this show is it's just about to share my life and what it's like to be a normal, everyday person going through this. I'm not some mystical light worker who's been on this path for many, many years. I don't have some amazing story of travel or, what most people I would think that would be having their own radio show would do. I'm just me, normal me. I go to work every day. I'm a loan officer. I'm very blessed I didn't lose my job through all of this. My job has been so amazing and stuck by me and carried me through everything. When we surrender to the truth of who we are and we become honest with everything, it's amazing the magic that will unfold from it. I hope that every week I can inspire someone. Maybe it's just one person, maybe it's 2. I don't know. All I know is that I was told that this is my journey. This is what I'm supposed to do. I don't know if I'm supposed to get my youngest daughter back and be a full-time mother to her again. Maybe that's in the cards. Maybe it's not. But I do know that what is happening and what will unveil for me in the future is absolutely beautiful. I'm very grateful for it. Every week I lead a meditation circle, or every other week, I'm sorry. And I basically gave this as a gift to my divine. Like, my goal is to help awaken humanity, to save us from the thoughts in our head, that constant rambling. It's annoying. So I lead a meditation up at the mountains, and it's absolutely beautiful. We do it in the evening, and there's bats flying around at night, and it's a wonderful experience. My goal is to help as many people as I can. And hopefully enough of you will listen and will enjoy my experiences every week that you'll want to tune in again. So it's twice a month on a Tuesday at 6 p.m. As far as tonight goes, to kind of touch base on a subject, I want to discuss relationships and what they mean to us. One thing I've learned through all of this is we're nothing without our relationships. When we push people away or are angry with them, it does nothing but abuse us. It hurts our souls. You're not at a complete state of peace unless you can be at peace with everything around you. And when you're in a personal relationship, that person is meant to bring up triggers in you to make you face things. It's funny because the last relationship that I was in, the one right before my suicide attempt, we constantly triggered each other. It was intense and crazy at times. But I learned that when someone is a soulmate or just the right person, they're a perfect mirror of you. They're brought into your life to show you a reflection of who you truly are. So every time something negative was said to me, or I was put down, or told that I was nothing, or I was no good, I'd get angry and hateful. But in reality, it's how I felt on the inside. So all he was doing was putting up a mirror for me to see the truth of what I felt. They say soulmates are someone that's brought into your life to shake up your reality, or what you think reality is. Soulmate isn't someone that comes into your world to love you and be with you and everything's so perfect, lovey-dovey. No. A soulmate is someone that comes in, puts up a mirror, makes you see the honest truth until you can't take it anymore and you change. And that's exactly what happened to me. It took many months for us to even speak. Actually, on my 6 months sober is the first time we got together. And now we've got a great friendship. I'm very grateful for this person. We've come a long way. Today, I'm almost 8 months sober, and I feel amazing. I feel relief and love for myself. I wake up every day and I don't have to get high to numb pain or to release anything, to hide stuff. I wake up every day and I go to the gym. I go to work. I call my children. I'm a patient, responsible, giving, present mother who works hard and dedicates her life to helping others now. We get so caught up in our ego and how we think people should act that we're never willing to take a look at ourselves. Sometimes that can be the hardest, scariest thing. And when you awaken, you can't hide that anymore. You see the honest truth. There's no more running from what you are. You see it, the anger, the sadness. We still feel emotion, but we don't feel it like we used to. We're not so involved. We can get detached from it. I can get into an argument with someone now, and at the end of it, end in laughter and gratitude for that experience. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure sharing my story with you, and it is very hard. It's hard to broadcast to so many people and be brutally truthful, even though I've done it with a few. This is to a much greater, I guess, audience is the right word to use. I hope that you'll tune in again, and every week I will be sharing something that I've read that means a lot to me that I hope that you can carry with you through the next week or two. Tonight it's actually a quote by Mother Teresa, which is just absolutely beautiful. It is, "If you are kind, people may accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives, Be kind anyway. If you are successful, you will win some false friends and true enemies. Succeed anyway. If you are honest and frank, people will try to cheat you. Be honest anyway. What you spend years building, someone can destroy overnight. Build anyway. If you find serenity and happiness, they may be jealous of you. Be happy anyway. The good you do today will be forgotten by tomorrow. Do good anyway. Give the world the best you have, and it may never be enough, but give your best anyway. Thank you for tuning in, and have a great night. Many blessings.